how Steve McClaren could set up Jamaica 2024-25 with three incomings. A discussion surrounding the starting 11, formation, and tactics will be done. So make we see. Wagwan. Welcome to Premier 7, everyone. I am your host, Ryan Nelson. I hope you all are doing well. I hope you all are enjoying your time. So, as was expressed, today's video will be covering the importance of how Steve McClaren could set up Jamaica in 2024-25 with the inclusion of three incomings. And people, I don't want to itch, I don't want to waste any time. But before I dive into the importance of this video, I want to say a big thank you for supporting the channel. I have 1,505 subscribers. I would love to receive at least 100 likes on this video and at least 25 subscribers, and in that case people, it will do wonders for this channel. I have to say, if you're new to the platform, please go ahead, watch, like, comment, share, and subscribe. And if you are already a subscriber, you know what to do already. And Premier 7 is also available on the different social media platforms. I am also available on TikTok and also on Instagram. So guess what? Let's jump into the meat of the matter. Alright, people, so how Steve McClaren could set up Jamaica 2024-25 with three incomings, starting 11, formation, and tactics. So for the objective, you're seeing here that Steve McClaren aims to make Jamaica competitive. Three English-born recruits by way of the 4-4-1-1 diamond formation, and tactics assessed, explained, and apply. Within the description, Steve McClaren desires for Jamaica football to be attractive by recruiting and improving players who are of the nation's heritage. Jamaica has limited resources, but McClaren believes the talents viewed can compete internationally. McClaren is pragmatic. He enjoys playing excited football, where scoring goals is essential. However, he believes players should have proper self-conduct. Studies showed that Coach McClaren's main formation is the 4-4-1-1, but can it aid in shaping the Reggae Boyz? Down below here, the coaching points for Mr. Steve McClaren. Preferred formation, the 4-4-1-1, and this was the formation utilized the most throughout his entire career, with the win percentage being 44.33. The players for which we will be talking about today will include Gibbs White, Nelson, and Greenwood, and for the progression, selected formation is a diamond 4-4-1-1, and that aids in balancing the attack and the defense. Players out are benched: Lowe, Bailey, Palmer, Antonio or Nicholson, and players in would be Bernard, Russell, Gibbs White, Nelson, and Greenwood. To my right, you're seeing the formation, the diamond formation, the 4-4-1-1, but you can see the differences in terms of color. The three players who are in a different color, supposing to that of the others, represents the English-born players. And I am going to jump into details right now, explaining the formation and how well it could be utilized to help shape the Reggae Boyz. As was expressed earlier on, Coach Steve McClaren ideal formation is the 4-4-1-1. Not to say that this formation wasn't tweaked, but it was the ideal formation that he utilized mostly throughout his career as a coach. Now, this formation would be one for which some persons would be saying it is all about hitting on the counter. But for me, more so, it's all about providing a balance and providing width, whereas the backline and the midfield can have that level of connection and compactness to restrict or prevent opposition teams from bursting through to score a goal. And in that case, I just want to say that speaking about goal scoring, we have to start from the back line. So within the goal, I have to go for our captain in Andre Blake. Not because he's our captain why I choose him, but because of the fact that this guy has been in the system for a long time. He understands the style of play that Jamaica should play, and if there's somewhat of an adjustment being made, I believe that this guy can adapt. He is that type of player who you can say will play well if others are not playing properly, because he's that man who you can even rely on to lead from the front, press, and get himself in that position to make some crucial saves to save the national team. Of course, Andre Blake may not be the best person in terms of playing from the back, from himself to a Bill or to a Pinnock or a Bernard or a Lembikisa. He may not be the best person to make some long distribution, but the main essence of having a goalkeeper is that of saving the goals. And for me, Andre Blake is that man that Jamaica has to work with. Alright, so for the right back position, the fans' favorite in a Dexter Lembikisa. I don't think he reaches 23, 24 as yet. So basically, he's far from his prime age. Lembikisa is that man who has speed, who has strength, who has stamina. It's somewhat hard to realize when he's tired. And when you're playing left back, you have to be going up, you have to be coming down, you have to be cutting in, you have to be dropping back. And for me, even though his game will improve, at his age, he's performing at best as how we could be predicting. So Lembikisa is that person who you can even left alone if everyone goes back up in the game. Let's say we're getting a chance to score a goal by way of a set piece. If Lembikisa is left alone, based on his recovery speed and his understanding of the game, then I'm not going to say 100% or 90% of the time he will get Jamaica back in the groove, but he's not way down the packing order, whereas he will not be able to recover the ball from the opposition. Now for the back line, I have to go for Bernard and a Pinnock. For me, Steve McClaren wants to use players who can really and truly remain composed on the ball. He's a pragmatic coach, which means that he's practical. He likes when his players are disciplined. And for me, normally it will be a low here because he's that regular starter for the national team. But to me, there's something about Adishon Bernard, who is even an ex-Manchester United's academy player. I think he has what it takes to play better than a Damian Lowe, whereas consciousness, discipline, and having a positive attitude surrounding the team is concerned. Because when you have opposition teams coming at you, you need for somebody who, for example, be here and decide if he should go to the left or go to the right when he is actually bombarded by two opposition players. And I think even though Deshaun Bernard is also young, not as young as Lemby Kisa, he's not in his prime age as yet, but being in a partnership with Ethan Pinnock doing the Copa America, I see even more of him becoming a prime captain for the national team based on how composed he can be with the ball at his feet. Now for a Ethan Pinnock, I mean, he is Jamaica's best centre back. I saw it for myself. Whenever this guy has the ball, he makes sure he scans. He makes sure he looks where to pass the ball. He makes sure that he doesn't make any reckless tackle, and he hardly looks as if he's in any haste. He looks as if he's focused, he's ready for the game. On and off the pitch, Ethan Pinnock just remains the same. Now we can understand that for Amara Bell, hopefully by the time Coach McClaren is available to coach these players, he will be back in the groove. Because I think for Amari Bill, he is a player, of course, who will go up and he will come down. But what I like about Amari Bill is that, to me, if I should compare him to a Greg Lee, he is more composed. And if we should even invert into a back three, I think he possesses a better defensive capability or attribute comparing to a Greg Lee. Now, for the area of compactness where the team is concerned, and of course, let you know that for this backline, they may not be playing way on the edge of their own box here, but they may be pushed up a bit more to provide opportunities for the persons playing in the midfield and to actually bring across an offside trap for teams that likes to hit on the counter or likes to press very high and they are pacey as well. For the midfield, I have to go for a Russell. The reason why I go for Russell is like an understudy to Edison Alvarez, who plays for Mexico. I think Russell is underutilized by the national team, and not only myself believes that he should be given a shot back, but this guy deserves to represent Jamaica. He's tall, he's above 6 foot, he can provide some assistance where Jamaica would be in need of defensive discipline because sometimes he will be the person to drop back here, right? He will have that defensive role to play as a DM to drop back here. For example, this guy decides to join with the three here, right? And let's say these two are side by side. So actually this guy will be the man who will take control of this part when it comes on to a offensive press. And if we're hit on the counter, he should be that last man more so to help to secure this position on the pitch. He's not the fastest man, but based on his capabilities that I saw in recent times, I think that he has what it takes to deliver for the national team. Now for the man himself, Mr. Gibbs White, I can remember the tattoo as I called his name. I think Gibbs White is that man who provides the energy in this era for the national team. Gibbs White is that person who will basically join the attack as well. He will make some good passes to, for example, a Demarai Gray, a Bobby Reed, even a Nelson if he should switch the play. I don't see him as a player who, will be selfish. That is not who I see in a Gibbs White. I see a leader. I see somebody who can take the game by the scruff of his neck and, put the ball to the net. He's a hard worker. He's a person who you can see, all right, you can rely on him to roam in the midfield. And to me, it will be a good connection for him when you have players like a Demarai Gray, Bobby Reed, and a Nelson who have the Premier League experience. These guys are above the norm when we should compare them to other persons in a different system. Nelson, Jamaicans love a Reese Nelson. This guy, for me, the reason why I chose him above Leon Bailey is because of the defensive capabilities that he will possess. Reese Nelson will not be tucking up here only to provide assistance to Grenador to a Bobby Reed, but also he have the potential and the capabilities of providing a defensive work alongside a Lembikisa. Let's say Lembikisa is out of position. He runs, he bombards into an opposition player who hits us on the counter. Then Nelson will have to drop back and provide some assistance. And to me, Nelson have the stamina, he have the potential, he have the capabilities to read the game properly. He's a very smart guy. I think he can assist in that defensive work as well because he's playing like a right midfielder. So his main aim is to play in the midfield and to provide assistance, but also help out in the defensive aspect of the national team. Now the talisman, Mr. Demarai Gray, was done very well for Jamaica over time. It wasn't the best campaign for him in the Copa America. I think the injury played a negative role on him, but I mean, this guy is the ideal man from the left for the national team who likes to cut in and, dance around with his nimble foot and put the ball to the side of the net on either end. He's that guy who is the best dribbler in the national team. For me personally, he will be that man who will hardly lose the ball. He is a good set piece taker, and a guy like Demar, I think he will be a person that Coach Steve McClaren would love to have in his team because when you watch Coach McClaren's tenure when he was coaching England. You see, within this region, within the midfield area, whether here or there, his players have to have that discipline of being able to make wise decision whenever it comes on to passing the ball or keeping the ball. And I think Ademari Gray possesses such quality that can help the Jamaica team go on another level comparing to if he was not available. And of course, we have the man himself in Mr. Bobby Reed, who I think is the ideal number 10. I was contemplating between him and Mr. Cephas. Well, not Mr. Cephas, Mr. Casey Palmer. Casey Palmer have the ability to play in the number 10 role, but for me, I think Bobby Reed have the edge over him. Seeing that Bobby Reed has already been in the Jamaica system, he's one of those prime players which Jamaican fans really and truly love to see in the team as well. Bobby Reed, I don't want for him to be playing too much to the right hand side because Nelson will be that man to take charge. So we give him less work here in the midfield to be the wise man. Should he shoot? Should he pass? I think Bobby Reed will be a better option than a Casey Palmer, who will be like, let's say, a replacement for a Gibbs White if there's a need for a substitution. And up front, Steve McClaren should know a Mason Greenwood, and he's a guy that loves to score a goal. If the formation should be different, then you can somewhat expect that Mason Greenwood may not be the person to play ahead in the front line. Maybe a Nicholson and a Greenwood would come like from this side where a Nelson is playing. Let's say the formation is changed to a 4-3-3, then you can expect for a Mason Greenwood to somewhat be the striker, but he can also play on the left wing or also on the right wing. But because Mason Greenwood, if to compare with all these players, he is absolutely a better striker, a better goal machine than all the listed names here. And Jamaica needs goals. We are yet to establish ourselves as a country that can have players who can at least give us 2 goals in games. Not to say consistently, but on a level for which we can say, you know what, it's a great thing that this guy is in the national team. So, so far so good. I think that the Jamaica men's national team can do quite well, whereas these players are concerned. And as I've said before, the team can be adjusted because I know persons will have their differences surrounding the players being given. But let me just point out something here once more. This is the area that Jamaica has to ensure that it is covered properly. And I speak value of a Russell. Jamaica is weak in the midfield, and we have to have the right balance and the right players who can play within this area to help our national team to progress the rightful way in regards to trying to, not to say counter our opponents, but to bring across a level of competitiveness against them when they want to hit us through the middle. Jamaica normally struggles right here, and as I expressed, I have to give credit to the importance of a Russell. I think he is the best sort of player that Jamaica needs to have. He needs to get some more game time and to become accustomed to the position here as a DM. Now, Lemby Kisa and Amara Bill will surely sometimes join the force of becoming those guys who may swing in some important crosses to, let's say, a Mason Greenwood, right? And this is where Greenwood, I think he will do quite well. He will score goals. He's better with the foot. He's two-footed, so I don't have any doubts about him scoring goals from either end. If he should kick the ball straight, he will. To the left, to the right, he will. But when these two guys, say for instance, we hit our opposition teams on the counter or on the break, then it is for Russell to, for example, drop here, and Gibbs White and Nelson have to provide the defensive coverage so that our team will not be in any big trouble should we be hit on the counter or on the break by our opposition team. So I am not saying that Gibbs White and Nelson should be defenders, but I'm just showing you the importance of having our players understanding the different roles that they have to play whenever it comes on to the national team for the national setup. Because, I mean, I, for one, would love to have a Gibbs White and a Greenwood and a Nelson in the setup, seeing that they have the capabilities of playing quite well in the national team. I think for me, there's a balance where these guys can provide to the national system, and these guys would be the ideal one for me that Steve McClaren may go for. He may have an other options, but I am sure that he would have to think about, if not all, but even two, a Greenwood and you choose either a Gibbs White or a Nelson. So people, what do you think about this video? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section, as I will be on board thereafter to reply. So take care, goodbye until we meet again.